perspective. This was the high school perspective. And the young adult, the 19 to 40 class. 19 to 40. All right. Oh, 19 to 40 class. Okay. Yeah. Hey! All right.
Future days.
All right. Yes. Okay, just state your name and just give your reflections of the trip. All of you all went on the trip, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay, and just your impressions, your reflections, what lessons learned.
My name is Brittany Bowman, once again. I was kind of sideswiped to go on the trip by Mr. Barlow. I didn't know the trip was happening, and fortunately he came and told me about it, and I had the fortune to go. One thing that I could say stood out to me was the ride down that stretch of road where the people were attacked, and the white lady who was transporting, was transferring voters and freedom fighters and people. That stretch of road when we were riding down it, everyone was talking or watching, their movies or playing on the iPods and things like that. For me, it was kind of a time of reflection just to realize we're riding down this road untouched. No one cares. No one is even noticing. But when they were going, there was so much tension at the time, and it just made me appreciate the fact that, or it made me realize how far we've come, but still, once we crossed the bridge and once everything was over, it made me realize how far we still have to go. So many things that Black people still have to confront daily, just being Black. The world is just, it's a stress. It's a bit of stress. And so I feel like we need to, once again, a comment that people have said is we need to stay focused. We need to keep our minds focused on the fact that we need to get out there and vote. We need to try somehow to communicate to the young men that it's not cute or funny to wear your pants like you do, because so many people died for you to be able just to walk the streets. And I think that's important. If I think of something else, maybe I'll come back and say it later. But that's it.
Good job.
I am Nakia Anderson. This experience for me was very emotional. At first, I didn't think it was going to be just a reenactment, but it actually brought history to reality for me. Like I said, a couple of times I had to fight back tears when I realized someone actually died for simple rights that we take for granted. Voting, excuse me, I'm getting a little caught up now.
All right.
But when I came back and I spoke to people, and they, what you do that for? We got the right to vote. But it was an importance of maintaining that, and I think that's where us as young people, we're bred into it, so we don't really realize the reality of the fight. But that, to me, it brought home to me, and it added a different passion to it. Excuse me.
That's all right. That's all right.
I'm involved in the legislative process at my local. But anybody that knows me during that time, they heard about it probably up until today. I'm still talking about my legs hurting, a little sore, tiptoeing, but it was awesome.
Hi, my name is Shanique Gay, and the trip to Tampa was very surreal. It felt like we were doing it all over again. And when we got to the bridge, the state troopers escorted us across the bridge. But at 65, they were stopping us from crossing the bridge, and I felt special. I felt important. They actually escorted us across this bridge, and our ancestors, they were abusing us, they were beating us up, and they was throwing tear gas and water and everything else to stop us from crossing this bridge. But for them to actually escort us across this bridge, I feel like we were actually kind of moving somewhere, but in reality, we're not really moving. We're still trying to fight and maintain what we have. We really haven't progressed as much as we should have. And a lot of it has to do with African Americans not willing to stand up. It is, oh, well, they'll do it. Somebody else always have an excuse for something. Excuses don't excuse the excuser.
Say that again.
So, and my pastor, Bishop Fan, he's always, every Sunday, is always Black history. He's always teaching us something. I was very grateful to go for the second time. The first time, it was just a trip. It was just to get out and to get away from home. And now that I'm older, I understand. And I understand that they actually fought for us. And that I'm willing to stand up. And I was able to, when we got back, we went to Applebee's. And I was able to explain to the waiter what the bloody Sunday was. And he was like, oh, I didn't know that. And I felt proud. I was very grateful to spread the word. So I actually learned a lot, and I'm able to tell people in class, and my teacher was talking about the same thing as I did my speech on the march. And she was like, it's a good thing that we have a young person out here that's willing to stand up and fight for us.
Good job.
Hi, my name is LaToya Ward, and I was able to attend the trip to Selma. To me, that was kind of a climax for me. My husband was Pastor Ward, so he's been working with Reverend Love to do the Voter Empowerment Collaborative. So I did the bus tour that they did a couple of months ago, and that kind of opened my eyes to some different things that was going on locally. But then when we took the trip to Selma, that kind of really opened your eyes up to the whole thing. To me, it doesn't make sense that we have this many African Americans just in this city that do not vote. And when you really start to hear the numbers, you really don't think about it until you start to hear numbers. And you're thinking, you're not hearing just a couple of thousand, you're hearing thousands and thousands of African Americans that just take voting just lightly, like it's nothing. So we were able to go across the bridge and to see the historic sites. That really, it gets emotional when you sit back and think about it, because my husband's grandfather actually marched with Dr. King. So if you think about it, if you go back and trace your history, you may have had family members that actually were involved in Bloody Sunday that were trying to cross just so that you have the right to vote. And so that's why my daughter was jailed, so we're trying to expose her now to things. I told my husband we can't put everything back on the school system. Us as parents have to take responsibility for our kids and expose them. Don't wait on the school. Do it yourself. You know, if I had waited on my daughter's school to go to Selma, she would have never went. She goes to a predominantly Caucasian school, so no, she would have never went. And when she posted the pictures, a lot of kids didn't understand what it was. I mean, to be honest, out of 60-something kids in her 8th grade, there's 3 African Americans. So to be honest, they really didn't understand. They were looking at the pictures, but I don't think it really hit her when you look up there and you see Al Sharpton. I'm like, ooh, take a picture of him. You know, a lot of people didn't get to see him up front like that, and they're here standing up for rights that we just take for granted. You know, so really, and I have to admit, when I was younger, I didn't really take voting seriously, and it wasn't pushed upon me how it needs to be pushed starting in high school. Just how you have the right to drive, just as you're excited about driving, you need to be excited to go vote. But we don't instill that excitement in kids about voting. And I guess a lot of times, too, it doesn't really hit home until you have children, and you got children going to school, and you see how elected officials affect the school system. You know, that's when it really started to hit me, too. So voting, I look at it in a totally different light. Selma was a climax to me. I understand what the other young lady was saying, that it does, if you sit back and think about it, that you're actually able to walk in the same path that your ancestors, other people walked, just so you have the right to vote. So it was a very interesting trip for me, and just all together being involved with the Voter Empowerment Collaborative has just taught me a whole lot.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Justin Mitchell. Going on this trip, I learned a lot more this time than I did the first time, because it was actually my second time going also. But in going on the first time, it was really more or less of a vacation trip. But the second trip, I actually was able to learn and really catch the emotion and the feeling of how it felt to walk across the bridge. And like Dejanique said, the state troopers was trying to escort us across the bridge. But back then, they was either trying to stop us from coming across the bridge or even looking further ahead. Yeah, we saw the buses and the police officers sitting down at the bottom of the bridge, but it's like, back then, they were standing up in crowds, horses with batons, tear gas, everything just to keep us from coming across. But this time they was actually waiting on us. And also, I noticed as we was crossing the bridge, there was a boat. I guess it was a safety boat for in case somebody accidentally fell over. But back then, there was no safety boat. They didn't care if you fell in the water. But it's like just being there, it feels better to be there than to actually just hear about it. Because if you actually go there and experience, you'll get a better understanding of it.
Any questions?
Did any of y'all visit the museum right there at the bottom of the bridge? Black History Museum? Oh, you got some trees. Tell them about it, Nikia.
Thank you, Walt.
I was just asking, they got a Black History Museum right there at the foot
National
of the bridge.
Voting, is it National Voting Rights Museum?
Right, when you come off the bridge, right there, it'll be on your right hand side.
Mhm.
So we went in there, and that was the top part. Tell us about it.